Miyabi Takabana isn't like every other woman you see. She isn't one who feels the entire nature of a woman is based on who she married and how successful her marriage is. As the series starts, we see Miyabi at a matchmaking session with a young lady. She is talking about herself and how she doesn't think she needs to get married. Well, the woman asks her why she had come to the session if she doesn't intend to get married. I know you may also wonder how she had gotten there. Yep, that was her. But it all began about a month ago when she had attended a school reunion after her achievements were read out. Everyone raised a loud noise of applaud for her. Then they mentioned the name of another student, Sakurai Yasuke, who unfortunately couldn't be at the reunion that day. She recalls that Sakurai was her first love and she had so much interest in him then, but he rejected her feelings. When it was time for lunch, some of her colleagues ask about her marriage and she tells them she isn't married. They wonder if she is dating, and when she says no, they honestly pray for her that she will see the man of her choice. This makes her correct them that it is not like she can't marry, she doesn't want to. Well, the reunion ends and she goes for dinner with her friends at a restaurant belonging to Tokura Seiji, a young man whose beliefs are opposite to that of Miyabi. He believes the end goal of a woman is to get married, and no matter how big she is, she needs to be a wife. To him, the end goal of a lady is to be submissive to a man. He overhears as Miyabi talks with her friends about a man that is asking her out, Aikta, and how Aikta is way below her and she can't be with him. He angrily interferes into the conversation, telling her that no man would want to be with her and she is only deceiving herself by claiming she doesn't want to get married because even if she wants to, she can't get married. She is so angry about that conversation that she brags that she will get married only to show him she can do it. She returns to work disturbed about these, and her workers notice this disturbance in her. Their company has a part-timer, Ryotaro, who comes to deliver meals for them, and every time he comes, he tries to flirt with her. Her clinic nurse, Rika, advises her that she should visit the matchmaking session, and that is the reason why she was there. The woman who had attended to her revealed to her that the probability of a lady of her age getting a man of her choice is just about 2% because men are classified based on achievement and women based on age. Miyabi has all she needs as a woman, including a dog, Betty. Upon arriving home that night, she receives a message from Aikta who asks to hang out with her, and she reluctantly goes because of Tokura's words. During the meal, Aikta reveals to her that Sakurai is around and he will be joining them. She recalls when she wrote a love letter to Sakurai telling him she wanted to meet him after school but he didn't come. When he arrives, he is glad she recognizes him and they exchange contacts. They walk home to take a taxi, and when she wants to cross the huddle, he helps her and she even falls on his body. Since that moment, she can't stop thinking about him. She also meets Ryotaro and she assumes he isn't one for her while she tells her mother about Sakurai, and her mother advises her to send a text. She types a text asking to see him but she can't get herself to send it to him. As she pants around the room, she falls down and her phone falls on the chair. Betty mistakenly sends the text and she is down. For hours, she keeps expecting a reply from Sakurai and thinking of a way to mitigate her problem. Eventually, he sends her a message asking to meet her for lunch the next day and she is very excited. Rika gives her several books to use in preparation for her meeting, and she also meets her single friends forum announcing to them that she has found a man she loves. She dresses up for the date, and when she arrives, he sends her a message that he will be running late because of a meeting. The restaurant she is will close soon, so she goes to Tokura's restaurant since he is always open. Tokura is shocked to see her because he never assumes she will come again, and when Sakurai arrives, she does everything in her best way to keep him interested in the conversation. He leaves to pick a call and Tokura tells her it was over. Just as Tokura has predicted, Sakurai returns and tells her he has to leave. She follows him outside and asks for another lunch with him with bills on her, but he reveals to her that he only wants to be friends with her. She begs him by telling him she wants something serious, but he insists on the friendship. As she walks away in tears, Tokura reminds her he had said it before. She returns home to listen to a voice call of her mother talking about how marriage completed her and she feels more bad. She returns to work and meets Ryotaro. She pays for her colleagues' meals and also tells Ryotaro that they will be having their 5-year anniversary in his restaurant, and this makes Ryotaro hug her. She feels emotional about the hug but knows that is not the kind of man she wants for herself. She rushes to Tokura's restaurant asking him why she can't get the man she wants. In tears, she declares how much she liked Sakurai and she wonders what she did wrong on the date. Tokura reveals to her that she had thrown herself at Sakurai during the date, that he felt she was cheap. He explains to her that men don't like when it seems they didn't have to barge the girl and the girl threw herself. He teaches her to send a message to Sakurai asking for a drink as friends, and although she refuses, he sends the message for her. She reveals that she had liked him since they were in school, and Tokura confesses that Sakurai came back to the bar that night and he also admitted to liking her in school but said she liked their basketball advisor. He recalls that the book she had kept, the love letter she wrote back then, belonged to their advisor and not him. She cries about how stupid she was, but Tokura tells her he won't forgive a lady that doesn't take her chances. At that moment, she receives a message from Sakurai who asks to go on a date with her as friends. She turns to Tokura begging him to teach her how she should behave and get the man she wants. He tells her that the best way for her to get what she wants at that point is for her to get a karissa, which means a temporary boyfriend. She insists she doesn't want to do that, claiming it makes no difference if she has to use someone else to get what she wants. However, he asks her when was her last relationship and she admits it is about 5 years. He explains that men will wonder why she was single for that long, so before her next date with Sakurai, she should get a man. She brags to him that she will get a man and show him. She returns home and then goes to work. She tells Rika about the idea of finding a temporary boyfriend, and as they have that conversation, Ryotaro comes to serve them and Rika teases that Ryotaro can be a good catch. She immediately refuses the offer, claiming Ryotaro is younger and at best, he looks like a distance relation. Rika tells her about a hobby group and she decides to visit with Rika by the next weekend. They go climbing and she immediately starts climbing, which makes Rika remind her that their focus isn't to climb, but to find a man. Rika shows her a good man around and asks her to go nearer. She loses her chance and another lady goes nearer to the man. As she walks away, the man falls for her and asks her if she is Miyabi. He reveals he had seen her magazine. While she assumes she has seen a man attracted to her, she finds out the man only wants to use her to get a referral for his sick mother at the hospital. Disappointed, she goes to Tokura wondering why men do not see her first as a lady before seeing her as a doctor. He tells her that it is because she isn't differentiating between her work self and her normal self. Trying to teach her, he tells her he intends to write a book about how women can barge their men and publish it so he can become a Forbes writer. He tells her a woman must not forget the 3 shuns: combination, reaction, and fashion, and advises her to change her wardrobe to show dresses that shows her as a woman. Upon getting home, she tries to search her wardrobe but finds nothing. She receives a call from a former schoolmate that Sakurai will be coming for their next reunion, and she finds ladylike clothes. She wears the clothes for coffee at Ryotaro's cafe and he compliments her, telling her he isn't her distant cousin and at work. Rika also tells her about a matchmaking party and tells her she can get her temporary boyfriend there. She proceeds for the meeting, and after meeting 2 men, she gets tired. As she is about to talk away, she remembers Tokura's words and encourages herself to return. Upon returning, she meets a young man, Tsuyama, who is also a doctor, and he is the center of all the women's attention. He talks about how they all think he is rich, but he isn't all of that. He claims the people in the private sector have destroyed what made sense in their career, and she talks about how she doesn't share that idea and she doesn't think so. He figures she has an idea about the industry and asks if she is a doctor. She reveals she is a dermatologist, and he sarcastically says that she had gone to open a private sector so she could earn cheap coins. She gets pissed and she replies that she opened her hospital to ensure that men like him do not make her feel like nothing. He gets angry and tells her that is why she is single at 39. This leads to a fight and he offers to leave, but the organizers beg him to stay, telling him there are several women who want him. She feels very bad and she walks away. She goes to Tokura and she laments that she works so hard on herself and she can't imagine that she has to deal with those kinds of men who will undermine her work and make her feel bad. He tells her that he had invited Sakurai and his colleague at work, Oba. When they arrive, Tokura ensures she sits beside them, and when Oba finds out she is a dermatologist, he starts showing several rashes on his body, asking her to help him check. This makes her uncomfortable, and Sakurai comes into her rescue by telling Oba that she isn't someone for him to do like that to, that she had worked so hard to get to where she had gotten to, and she had also read a lot in school. He tells her that he admired her a lot and her strength is something he doesn't take as normal. She gets emotional and starts crying. He consoles her and leaves. As they leave, Tokura comes to her disappointed, asking why she had destroyed all the work he had done by behaving as if she had never heard a compliment before. She tells him she doesn't want to have a man that would undermine her intelligence and her work for any reason, and she will prefer being alone. As she is about to leave, he reveals that he just wanted her to experience a happy marriage too, and it shocks her to find out he is married. He tells her at least he was happy. She returns home and he also returns home, unknown to them that they live in the same building. He goes around his empty house watching a video of his daughter. She goes to work and Ryotaro comes to make delivery. He invites her to watch stars with him, but she refuses. After he leaves, Rika comes to ask about her search, but she says she has given up. Suddenly, the man who asked for her referral the last time, Ishida, visits her hospital with gifts for her staff. He asks if she would like to be in a relationship with him with the prospect of marriage, and she is so shocked. There is no other person for her to brag to expect Tokura. She rushes to his restaurant, telling him that his lessons had only made her feel she can't barge the kind of man she wants, but now she has realized she is still the most popular girl of high school, and the same person who had won Miss Ideal in her university days. She tells him about Ishida's proposal, and he wonders what she will do when her Mount Everest, Sakurai, comes back and how she will break up. She thinks about this for a while, and the following day, she meets Ishida and tells him that it isn't the case, that she doesn't want something serious. She just wants them to begin as friends. He admits that he was somewhat rushed about it, and he has all the things she may need in case they marry eventually. By the time she returns to work, the news about the proposal has spread. She wonders why, and she realizes she was the one who had told them when she was drunk. She returns to Tokura's restaurant for a date with her single friends, and she talks about how boring Ishida is and how he carries his backpack. Again, Tokura teaches them that the most important things about a date is having fun regardless. He tells her to use it as a practice against her Mount Everest. When she leaves, she receives a message from Ishida who asks to have a date with her with his mother. She goes on the date and also takes along her mother too. His mother overpowers the entire discussion that even Ishida is pissed, but she encourages him to have fun regardless. This makes him like her the most. Later, they have another school reunion where she finds out that the night Sakurai found out about the letter she wrote to the advisor, he was so heartbroken that he went on karaoke and got drunk. His colleagues laugh at him at the reunion and he laughs about it, telling her that it was only in the past and he had gotten over it already. Although the reality that she has lost him isn't favorable, she accepts it regardless. She goes on a morning run and bumps into Tokura. She tells him where she stays, but he denies living there too and says he lives far away. He asks about the update of her love life and she reveals that she has accepted the reality that Sakurai no longer feels for her, and that is what she is making do with. She starts preparation for her 5th year anniversary and she invites Sakurai. Rika tells her Ishida will also be coming and she wonders how because she didn't invite him. She finds out her mother had invited him. When her former schoolmates arrive and she tries to welcome them, her mother says that she should introduce Ishida as her fiancé. She tries to control the narrative, but her mother inferred she was in a relationship. Before she could say the truth, one of her colleagues revealed that Sakurai has also gone back to his ex and she is heartbroken by this. Disappointed, when it is time for her speech, she corrects the notion about the letter she sent in school and also announces her engagement to Ishida. This makes her classmates wonder why she had gone for an ordinary man. They all move to Tokura's restaurant for the after party. As Sakurai gets there, he tells her he has to return to work and excuses himself. He appreciates her for revealing the mistake about the letter, and she also told him she felt it was a one-sided love and she didn't know he also loved her. As they talk, Ishida arrives and Sakurai leaves. Miyabi meets Tokura, who asks her why she was rushed. She tells him Sakurai had returned to his ex and the situation had changed. He tells her that for a person for her age, if she chose the person who is ready for marriage, he won't blame her, but she should ask herself who she wants between them. She thinks about the feelings for Sakurai and she decides to break up with Ishida. She reveals to him that she is in love with someone else and apologizes for just announcing the engagement. He asks her what she is doing, reminding her of her age, her status, and her beauty. He says he knows he is an ordinary man and that is why he wants to marry her so she can elevate his standards. He asks if she thinks if he was a made man, he will go for someone of her age, and tells her the union is a last chance for both of them and she should take it. She screams at him, telling him that it is not that she can't get married, she just doesn't want it. On the other hand, Rika finds out Tokura is a rich chef. He tries to shut her up, telling her he has sold the business she is talking about. Miyabi runs to find Sakurai, but she sees his ex-girlfriend rush to him and they hug. She is heartbroken that he could even bag a girl as young as his girlfriend looks when she can't go for a younger man. She tries to look for Tokura and she stays on the walkway he will pass when he is taking his usual walk. She tries to call his attention, telling him that she didn't intentionally wait for him and it was coincidentally, but he didn't care. She tells him she has experimented all he had told her, and she even tries to tell him the results she had gotten from the experiment, but he tries to send her away by distracting her with Sakurai. When Betty takes his key, he returns and he still tries to run from her. She later finds him at the fish market where she reveals Sakurai's young girlfriend and her disappointment in the fact that she can't even get a man, whether young or old. She tells him that just as she was about to give up, she received a friend from a classmate, Yuri, who informed her that Sakurai isn't back to his girlfriend. He had stayed with the girl's parents when he was in Indonesia and he had broken up, but she traveled to Japan to find him. However, she will be staying in Japan for a month and wants to stay with him, so there is a probability that she will get him back. She asks Tokura for the skills she could use to get him in that situation, and he tells her that the ex-girlfriend, for her to go through all those stress means she is a strong, willing lady, and if Miyabi will win, she also has to develop strong will. He tells Miyabi that she has to develop the act of talking and also the act of touching if she wants the man back. Trying to develop those acts, Miyabi asks Rika to organize a mixer between men and women for all the workers at the hospital and some men. While trying to organize the mixer, Rika visits Tokura for help and she also comes with Miyabi. As they talk, Sakurai also enters and he reveals that Tokura sent him the menu for the day so that he can come and taste the menus, which is why he had been coming coincidentally. Rika leaves them to talk and as usual, they relate well on old school matters. Before Sakurai leaves, his ex-girlfriend arrives. She introduces herself as Sekiyuri, and when she finds out Miyabi is Sakurai's classmate, she comments that Miyabi is as old as her mother. Sakurai drags her away and they leave. Miyabi speaks with Tokura and realizes that she has a chance and she won't give up. Her mother visits her and she sees Tokura in the elevator and even finds out he lives at the penthouse, but she doesn't know his relationship with her daughter. She meets Miyabi and talks about the man at the penthouse, and Miyabi doesn't also know it is Tokura. Her mother informs her that she has also been going for adult matchmaking, and Tokura also tries to call his wife to no avail, but she doesn't pick up. To ensure her mother doesn't find a partner before her, Miyabi decides to go for the mixer, but when she talks about her age and every other thing, it seems like everyone in the mixer just keeps quiet. She wonders if she is a conversation stopper and why no one wants to speak with her. She tries to talk to Ryotaro about this, and Rika also challenges Ryotaro to organize a mixer for them if he thinks he is good friends. Angry about the reality, Miyabi visits Tokura to complain, and he informs her that a mixer has specific conversations to be heard. There are things people want to hear and they aren't just interested in the truth about you. He teaches her the way to answer questions and even makes her practice before she goes to attend the mixer that is organized by Ryotaro. At that mixer, she gets a better reaction from everyone. She also learns the act of touching during the mixer and how it will help her. The mixer ends so well for her, and when she is about to leave, Ryotaro asks her if she would like to go to the karaoke with her and they can save together. Unfortunately, she receives a call from Tokura and she goes to meet him at the restaurant. She finds out Eri is there to talk to her, and Eri tells her she asked to talk to her because she knows she is Sakurai's friend. She reveals that Sakurai proposed to her when he was in Indonesia and he was about to leave. He asked her to follow him to Japan, but she had just gotten a job at the hotel, so she refused. Before she could finish her story, she receives a call and goes to pick it up. Tokura comes to tell Miyabi that she could use the fact that Eri came to her against Eri and win Sakurai. However, Eri returns and reveals that she is pregnant, and that was why she has come to Japan. She tells Miyabi that she won't allow her to take Sakurai. Sakurai comes to take Eri away, and as Miyabi tries to leave, he tries to speak with her, but she tells him to deal with his house first, as she is going to support whatever he does. She walks home depressed and goes to take a drink. She receives a call from Ryotaro, who asks her where she is and goes to meet her. She cries to him and he doesn't bother asking her what is wrong. Instead, he hugs her and consoles her. He ensures she is fine that night. Also, when Tokura gets home, he is shocked to see someone in his house, and the person turns out to be his wife, who revealed she had come because he asked her to. The night does not end that way, as when Eri gets home, she asks to talk to Sakurai. By the time Miyabi wakes up, she wakes up on her bed naked with her clothes flung around the house. She sees someone beside her bed and it turns out to be Ryotaro, which shocks her. She is so shocked to see him beside her, and when he stands up, he doesn't show any sign of being shocked. He even asks her why she had named her dog Betty, and she tells him she had named it Betty because it was the name of the first love story she watched as an adult. She insists that he should dress up and leave her house, and as they both struggle out of the house, Tokura sees them and turns so that she won't see him. She hits him to walk faster and tells her that he shouldn't consider what had happened between them as anything because she won't consider it too. She tells him that she doesn't want him to think deeply about it because she doesn't have feelings for him and it was a mistake. Without considering the words of her mouth, he helps her adjust her dress and leaves. Sakurai is disturbed about what to do. He recalls that the night before, Eri had summoned the courage to tell him about her pregnancy, and she told him she doesn't know what to do about it, but she just wants him to know. He thinks about how Miyabi had told him to hold on to her the night before, and he decides to hold on to her. As she rushes to meet him where he is sitting, he asks her if she is feeling well and tells her he will take care of her and the child. On the other hand, Tokura remembers his encounter with his wife. He had knelt down begging her to return home, but she reminded him of how he had treated her when she was at home. How he had worked in his big restaurant and barely came home. Even the times he had come home, he would behave as if they don't exist and make her feel miserable. He begs her that he has changed, and she gives him 30 seconds to convince her about the so-called change. She reminds him that he is mischievous and he thinks he is smart. She tells him she wants to divorce him and all she wants from him is their upkeep money, including that of his daughter. He insists that if she doesn't return, he won't divorce her or give her any money, including their daughter's school fees. She angrily slaps him and walks out of the house. As work continues, Ryotaro brings lunch as usual, but he doesn't ask to see Miyabi, which makes Rika ask Miyabi if something had happened between them. Miyabi quickly denies that possibility, but Rika reminds her that they were left together after the mixer, but Miyabi insists she didn't remain with him. Disturbed about the new development, Sakurai goes to Tokura's restaurant to eat with his colleague. He announces to his colleague that he wants to get married, and while his colleague is excited for him, he remains indifferent. His colleague asks him if there is someone else he wants, but he refuses to admit and he says no. Later that day, Miyabi visits the restaurant disturbed. Tokura, who had overheard her conversation earlier, tries to find out what had happened, and he keeps making right guesses, which makes her wonder why he is that smart, and he claims it is because he is preparing for his book. He asks her if she wants Ryotaro, but she takes a second before telling him no. He claims he knows she has taught about the possibility and she has taught about lust for him. He asks if she still wants Sakurai, and she tells him that even if she does, she can no longer get him. So he advises her that she should unleash the lust she has in her heart for Ryotaro. She returns home and takes a look at her pictures with Sakurai in school when Ryotaro visits her and makes meals for her. They read a book together and he tries to play with her and tickle her. She falls for it at first, but later asks him what he wants, which makes him reveal that he just wants them to remain friends. He claims it is nice that he can spring unannounced without any issue. This makes her realize he barely wants commitment, so she returns to report to her teacher, who tells her it is because she doesn't know how to make him feel like a man. He tells her a man's aim is small, they only want to feel good, and if she can make him feel good and master how to comfort him, he will realize what he really wants. He visits her again and he rests on her leg. She takes a blanket and covers his body so he can sleep well on her body. She realizes she is falling in love with him. At home, they do their secret love and they remain friends when they get to work. She goes to meet Tokura trying to tell him that it seems she is falling in love with Ryotaro and he advises her to go for it. She continues at work while Eri has started getting morning sickness, so Sakurai has been busy taking care of his girlfriend. He goes to Tokura's restaurant to drink and coincidentally, Miyabi comes too. She refuses to sit beside him, claiming she doesn't sit beside married men, but he claims he isn't married. He tells her about Eri's morning sickness and her stress, and they also talk about school days. To their shock, Tokura's wife comes with his daughter, Chihana. Seeing them makes Sakurai realize he really wants to be a father, and it also makes Miyabi figure she is no longer as young as she had always been. As a result, she decides that instead of allowing Ryotaro to slip away from her the same way Sakurai had slipped, she will tell him about her feelings. When she gets to his cafe, she sees him with some girls and gets disgusted. She tells him she wants to have a conversation with him, and as the girls leave, she tells him if he wants to remain that way, then what is between them has to end. She tells him she wants to know him as a man, and if he doesn't want that, she isn't a child. He reminds her that she is also in love with someone else. Why should he be serious with her when she isn't serious? So she goes to ask him if he will be serious if she decides to love him, and they decide to start afresh. On the other hand, Tokura's wife set out to leave. She tells him he doesn't know what is wrong with her and why she had left home, and she doesn't think she can stay with such a thoughtless man. Meanwhile, Eri receives a strange call from her mother. When Sakurai sees her and calls her, she quickly ends the call. The new lovers kiss inside the elevator and they are shocked to see Tokura by the elevator. Miyabi suddenly remembers her mother talking about the man at the penthouse.